Hello, my name is Matthew Middleton, and I'm going to be presenting a video on the neuropsychology of developmental dyslexia. Developmental dyslexia is characterised by difficulties with accurate and fluent word recognition, as well as difficulties with spelling. These difficulties inhibit the development of an individual's reading system, as individuals experience difficulties with decoding and processing words. The prevalence findings for dyslexia have varied in academic circles. However, a consensus seems to be found within a range of 5 and 11%, which is exemplified by Goswami's findings of 7%. Previous academic consensus has concluded that boys were at higher risk than girls to develop developmental dyslexia. However, Shaywers and Shaywers found dyslexia affects boys and girls equally, and that the discrepancy that was there was due to widespread sampling bias in school-identified samples. With the basics of dyslexia established, I will now illustrate potential neurological causes and neuropsychological explanations for developmental dyslexia. One predominant neuropsychological theory is the phonological theory of dyslexia, which states that dyslexics suffer from a primary deficit in phonological processing, which is the ability to process sounds in language. According to this theory, an individual's ability to manipulate and attend to linguistic sounds is inhibited, and therefore an individual would struggle with word recognition in phonological coding. Due to this theory, many studies have attempted to identify areas within the brain that could cause such difficulties in dyslexic individuals. Although many studies have identified many different areas within the brain that could potentially contribute to difficulties with processing and coding words, there are predominant areas that have been implicated, and these predominant areas tend to be found in the left posterior temporal lobe, as this section in the brain is strongly associated with the production of language. Functional neuroimaging studies have consistently demonstrated less activation on the left occipital temporal cortex in dyslexic readers. This region is considered critical for skilled reading, and damage to it in adult readers leads to severe deficits in reading ability. Cronk-Beichler and colleagues suggest that within this region lies the visual word form area, which demonstrates decreased activity in dyslexics while performing skilled reading tasks. Meg Heaney and her colleagues were also able to conclude that brain abnormalities in individuals with developmental dyslexia were mainly located in the left posterior temporal lobe, which supports the understanding that the central difficulty in developmental dyslexia is within the language system and phonology. Despite a predominant understanding in academic circles, these theories and explanations are not foolproof, and this is exemplified by Peterson and Pennington, who concluded that from recent evidence, speech representations preserve much more than phonemes, which are the distinct units of sound, and that they are mainly important in the context of learning an alphabetic written language. Since children who become dyslexic have trouble with spoken language long before they encounter the written alphabet, the problem in their phonological development is not restricted to the phonemic representations, and should lie in other dimensions of speech. However, this is refuted by Boss, who found that phonological awareness significantly contributed to reading accuracy, and that the further awareness accounted for independent variance in reading speed. Ziegler and colleagues were also able to identify 3 core deficits in relation to phonological processing. That is the access to phonological lexicon, the use of phoneme information, and impaired letter processing. These findings therefore are consistent with the phonological deficit theory of developmental dyslexia. However, Meg Heaney and her colleagues stated that developmental dyslexia is a complex disorder caused by a range of impairments in neuropsychological functioning, such as visual attention, and that different cognitive deficits in different individuals can lead to poor reading abilities, thus supporting a model of developmental dyslexia that incorporates multiple deficits. Overall, however, the phonological theory of dyslexia seems to be limited, as it states that deficient phonological processing is the sole cause of dyslexia. But with such a complex process such as language and reading, and contrary findings indicating other factors, this seems like an inadequate explanation of dyslexia. Thank you, and this has been my presentation on developmental dyslexia.